Hey guys, welcome back to Average Joe Real Estate Investing. Today we're going to go over how I analyze the deals I'm going to buy or not buy, and then the metrics that I use to analyze them, and the calculator that I use to do all that. And so up in this top right hand corner here is the different target metrics that I use, and this is what I hopefully get out of a property that I'm going to purchase, or this is what I want to get. And so cash on cash, I want 15 to 20%. And essentially, this is how fast you're going to get your money back through cash flow. And so I have all the equations right next to them. So cash on cash is the annual net cash flow before taxes divided by invested cash. And so what that means is your cash flow isn't just your rent minus your mortgage like most people think. It's your rent minus your mortgage minus property taxes, insurance, all your maintenance, vacancies, everything it takes to run the property is minused out of there. And then after that, what's left over each month is your cash flow. And that's where a lot of people go wrong when they analyze properties is they just think it's simple. You just take the rent minus the mortgage, there's your cash flow. And that's not true. You're going to have to fix stuff. You're going to have vacancies. You're going to have future capital expenditures, like a roof or siding. And so either way, it's the cash flow, so your rent minus all of that stuff, and then divided by invested cash. So let's just say you get $100 for the unit cash flow each month. You would have $1,200 a year. And let's say you put $12,000 down. You would do 1,200 divided by 12,000, and you'd get 10%. So it would take you 10 years to get your money back. I usually shoot for 5 to 7 years. So that's kind of where I got that 15 to 20%. It seems pretty standard amongst a lot of investors in the area. And so that's how you do that. So I would say that's like the number one metric that people use to analyze a property. With higher interest rates, it's kind of eating up the cash flow currently. So the cash on cash returns aren't that great. But we still try and shoot for 15 to 20%. So it helps that we're finding off market deals to kind of still offset the interest rates. We get a little bit better deal. So the next thing is the debt service cover ratio. And this is what banks use, I would say, most of the time. And it's very important that you don't bring a bad deal to the bank, like say it's a 1.1 instead of a 1.3. The bank is going to not have very good credibility with you after that, and they might not work with you as much in the future. They won't have the trust there. And so you want to have it at 1.3 or above. And so what this essentially does is it's your net operating income divided by your debt service amount. And debt service amount is just your interest and principal only. So all my mortgages, I escrow the property taxes and the property insurance right into the payment. But for this, you would not include those. And so I typed this up over here. So net operating income, essentially how you get it is your gross rental income minus your operating expenses. And so let's just say your gross rental income is $3,000 a month, or let's just go $1,000 a month for easy math. So that's $12,000 a year, right? And so you have $12,000 gross rental income. Now we got to minus the operating expenses. Well, what are those? And so some of them are utilities that are included, of course, the ones you're going to pay, not the tenants. Your maintenance, property insurance, property taxes, capital expenditures. And you can see I typed up kind of what they are. So utilities could be anything from like snow removal, lawn care, garbage, electricity, natural gas. Generally, I would say water, sewer, garbage, and lawn care and snow removal are like your top ones. And then maintenance, we set aside 6% for maintenance, 6% for future expenditures, 6% for vacancy, and then 6% for property management. And so the difference between maintenance and capital expenditures is maintenance is like you're fixing a toilet, you're replacing the carpet in a bedroom, the stove burned out, like small expenses, maybe under $2,000 or something. And then capital expenditures are like you're saving up for the roof, the sewer, siding, maybe a new driveway, like big ticket items that you can see, hey, in 5 years I need to replace this. Well, you need to be setting money aside for that. So you also have to plan for that and set money aside. So, like I said, we set aside 6% for each of those categories. And where vacancy comes in um, is like when you have a unit turnover, most of the time you're going to have a full month without anyone living there. Well, you still have to make your mortgage. So we set aside 6% separate account for that as well. And then property management, we still pay ourselves the 6% that you'd pay a property manager. And we do that for two reasons. You don't know if you're going to ever eventually just have to hire a property manager. You don't know if you're going to have to move away for work or, whatever it is. And also, you just don't want to work for free. You're not doing this because well, I mean, I enjoy it, but you're not just doing it because of that. I mean, there's better things you could do. And so either way, essentially your net operating income is your gross rental income minus all of this stuff, right? And so if we come back to our debt service coverage ratio, it's our net operating income, that number we just got over here, and you divide that by your debt service amount. And so that's pretty simple. And that's just a yearly interest and principal. How much is it that I'm going to pay the bank? And then you get your number and you want it to be over a 1.3. So essentially a 1.0, so a 1 would just be that you have the exact amount of income you need to cover your principal and interest for the year. And you could see how that would not be a good situation. You want to have extra money left over, A, so you're making money, and then B, bad things happen. So it's good to be able to build up your reserves and have a little extra money coming in each month. So the next one that I consider, so like I said, the DSCR, that's more the banks, but you want to make sure the number's right. And then the total return on investment. So the argument you get from a lot of people about real estate is you can get better returns in the stock market. And that is just dumb and not true. And it's because they only factor the cash flow. They don't factor like the principal pay down, the appreciation, the tax benefits, all the other avenues of revenue from real estate. And so what total return on investment does, click on it here. So return on investment. So it's your cash flow plus your principal pay down on your mortgage divided by the cost of the investment. So, like your cash flow, if it's $1,200 a year, and then say you pay down $5,000, usually principal pay down's more. So say, that's $5,000, that'd be $6,200. And then say you had $20,000 invested. And that would be your down payment, closing costs, upfront maintenance costs, just anything you need to do to buy the property and then get it running properly with tenants in there. And so you'd take the 6,200 divided by that 20,000, and that would be your return on investment. So that'd be like what, 25, 30% without doing the math. So either way, I just shoot for over 20%, just because, like what stock over 20, 30 years is going to get you 20% every year. It's just not going to happen. And so I see with a lot of our properties that we're around like 35%. And so you don't see that principal pay down right now, but eventually you'll be able to cash out refinance, and that'll be your money tax free. So the next metric I would say that most people use, especially like anyone in big multifamily, or like office spaces, anything. I mean, you can use that on a duplex, but it's cap rate, capitalization rate. And so why this is important is it's a figure that doesn't take into account interest rates, mortgage terms, anything like that. It doesn't include anything from the bank. It's just simply your net operating income divided by the current fair market value. And so we already saw earlier how you get your NOI, and you just divide it by the current fair market value. So you can just compare, one over here on Main Street compared to 3rd Street. And you don't have to call your banker. You don't have to get the interest rate, what terms he's going to give you. You can just figure out, hey, without a mortgage, if I paid cash for both of these, which one am I going to get a better return on? In our area, I'd say like 7 to 9% is pretty normal. But I included 6. I mean, I still think that's a good enough return where I would buy it. So 6 to 9 is what I look for there. So the 1% rule is kind of the last thing that I use. And the only reason I use this, because it really doesn't tell you much, is just if you're talking to a guy on a phone quick, or if you have a buddy that's selling a place, you can just in your head instantly know, is this going to be a terrible deal or does it have potential? And so basically you just need $1,000 in rent for every 100,000 that you're paying for the property. So if it's $250,000 property, you need 2,500 in rent. And so it's super simple. And with higher interest rates though, now I'd say that, you'd want it to be above a 1% rule. So if we go over here, we can just slowly go down our list now that we know exactly what we're looking for. And we'll type in numbers from a deal that I was presented not too long ago, and we'll just see whether I should have bought it or not. And so the fair market value was 250 grand. We were going to get it for exactly what we were exactly what it was worth. So we weren't getting like a discount or anything. But if you were, like say it was worth 300,000, you could put in a percent there, and then it would bring down your purchase price to the correct amount. And that'll show equity. So that is important to have these two numbers right, because there's two different returns below. So we're not getting a discount. Maybe just for the sake of this, we'll say it was worth 300,000, just so you can see the two different tables. And I'll have to figure out, I don't know the discount, something like this, I suppose. Yeah, that's close enough. So we'll just say that was worth 300 grand, but we're paying 250 for it. On a duplex, we put 10% down on 90% of our properties. If you start getting into anything over a 4-unit, then you have to put more down. So anyways, we're paying $250 for it. It's close enough there, 10% down. So it tells you your down payment and amount being financed. Closing costs for us are always between $1,000 and $1,500. So I just always factor $1,250, so that's fine. You can just play with the percentage here. There's no repairs on this. So it was remodeled both sides, so no upfront costs. The interest rates currently on a loan like that with 10% down are 6.75, which is not great. And we get 25-year loans, and they balloon every 5, so you relock the rate every 5, which can be a little scary with interest rates raising, but that's why it's important to get a good deal on it, right? And so anyways, we have our basic info added in, and it'll just tell you your monthly payment and then yearly. So now we come down, and rents were $1,300 per side. So we have unit A, B, and you can add in more sections if you need here. And it'll tell you your gross rental income. That's monthly and then annually. And then, like I said, we do 6% that we set aside in a separate bank account, can't touch it. And that just goes into account for when someone moves out and we have an extra month there, our money is sitting there ready to pay the mortgage if we need. And so that's $936 a year. So nothing crazy, but it slowly builds up and you're eventually going to have a turnover. So your new rental income, this just minuses the vacancy out of it. And so, each month we're going to get $2,522. And so you can see before the vacancy was $2,600. So it's important to remember to factor that in. Now we come down here to our expenses, and we have 6% for property management, capital expenditures, and maintenance reserves. And so that's another, let's see here, $156 per month. And that's based off from this number then, that 2,522. Can see where this doesn't make sense though. 6. Just very confused why these numbers are different here. B22. Oh, I see. I had the wrong number in there. So vacancy needs to be determined off from. Sorry, gotta switch it here. Just did some altering this morning to it. I must have missed that. So vacancy is really actually $156 per month. And property management, capital expenditures, and maintenance are all the same then. And so You come down here, your total expenses that you're setting aside each month are $468 plus the $156 for vacancy. And so yearly, that's $5,600 plus the $1,872 for vacancy. So you can see that that gets important. That $2,000 plus six essentially. So that's like 7,500 roughly, give or take. And so the people that don't factor this in for the cash flow, there's $7,500 that we're setting aside because we know we're going to have problems. Those other people that just do cash flow where the mortgage minus the rent, or the rent minus the mortgage rather, they're going to not have this money in a bank account for once you have a turnover or a sink breaks, a furnace goes out. You need to have money sitting there. And so that's why that portion's important. And then that's where you get your net operating income from. And so net operating income, you can just check out this, is this number right here, the new rental income after vacancies, minus your total expenses. And so we get $23,712 per year. And so that number you can see, like I was saying, is about 7,000 difference. And that's where people mess up and bankruptcy happens. So keep going down. Down here we have our cash flow analysis, and it just shows your revenue that you get from the rentals, your expenses, mortgage payment, and then that's where your net cash flow comes from, is your revenue from the rental minus the vacancy, minus your expenses, minus your cash flow, and then that's your cash flow. So we would get essentially $427 total per month from this. So $213 per door per month. And that's pretty good. A lot of people shoot for $200 per door. So then we're just going to fill up this section, and this is for down below. And so in our area, real estate generally appreciates like 3 to 5%. Obviously, the last like 4 years have been crazy, but we'll just do the standard. We don't want to hope for anything high. We just want to go with what we know will most likely happen. And then cost to sell the property. That's important again for just some of these factors down here for your total profits if you do cash out. And so I've sold 2 of mine without a realtor. But I think you still want to factor in the 6% for this, because you never know, if the market's really hot, you might want to sell it by yourself. But if it starts to slow down, you might want to just go with the realtor and have them do it. So it's always better to prepare for the worst and hope for the best type thing. So we'll just put the 6% in there. And then it's a 25-year term that we get. And I think we put that above too, so that might be redundant. So this is all of our analysts now. So if you look, this particular property is an almost, you can just round up, it's an 8% cap rate. And so I would say that is towards the high of what you normally find in our area. And so that's good. That's exactly what we want. So looking good so far. And then down here is where I said it might be a good idea for us to put in, let's just scroll to the top, the fair market value, and then also the purchase price is different, so I can just show you. So this is kind of where I started changing stuff, as I added the cap rate, and then I also added the fair market analysis down here. So you want to run the numbers based on what it's worth as well, but then you also want to run it on what you're paying just in case you're wrong. So the purchase price, if we're looking here, the cash on cash, as you can see, it just adds this first number year after year. But our cash on cash is essentially 20% for this deal. So that's pretty good, I would say. That is exactly what I looked for. And then it just continues to double. So then if you look down here, after year 5, you have 100% of your money back. And then obviously it just keeps going. And then your return on investment, I'm not sure why this one's so low, but the cash on cash is good enough, so I wouldn't care about the return on investment. But if you look at the following years, I mean, those are incredible returns. Year two, you're at 61% between principal pay down and cash flow. That's pretty crazy. And then if you look, so we have our annual payments, just that's how much you're going to pay a year for it. That's how much interest is paid. Slowly goes down, obviously, as you pay it off. Principal slowly goes up, so that's good news. That is tenants paying off your money or your mortgage for you. So that principal all eventually becomes yours. You can see the property value going up, the total owed going down, and then this is if you cash out. This is where I was saying it's important to put the realtor fee in there. If you cashed out each of these years, this is how much money you'd get. So the year one, the only reason it's positive on this one is because we put that the property is worth more than it was that more than we were paying for it, essentially. Sorry. But say you do cash out, 4 years in, you only have 30,000 into this property, but year four, you're taking a check away after realtor fees for 55 grand. So it's just kind of nice to see where you'll be at. And then, all right, here's cash invested, sorry. So we're 26 grand and not 27. And then, that's how much you gain or lose per year if you do decide to sell. And then those are the two metrics that I mainly use to check if I want to buy a property. The cool thing is I added this market value price down here is the cash on cash and the total ROI are the same. Well, cash on cash, sorry. The cash on cash is the same, but your total ROI is going to be more for the property that has the market value price. And the reason for that is you're getting instant equity, right? And so if you look up here, we had essentially 51 grand, so say 50 grand of instant equity. Well, that means when you buy this property year one, you're getting 187% ROI on your money. You're not going to do that in the stock market. You might get lucky a couple times, but you can do this repetitively on real estate if you find off-market deals. You're probably not doing it on the MLS. So that's really the main difference down here. And then also if you cashed out, that number is significantly larger as well because you have all that equity in it. And most of our deals we buy I'd say 80% of market. And so this number instantly is larger for us than most people. So down here is where it becomes important for the bank. I added this section as well. So we have the payment per month. And so you have 20, 25, 30-year loans. So 20-year loans and 25s are pretty common for commercial. 30s are like if you do an FHA loan, and you can do that on a duplex, triplex, and fourplex as well. And so I keep that on here as well just because I do plan on moving out of my duplex that I did that with, and I want to eventually get a fourplex, so I can run the numbers on that as well. But most of the time, ours is 25-year loans. And so what you do is this takes all the information we inputted up above, and it just does the math for you based on the percent. I put the equation in there. Pretty cool. I actually just built that. But either way, it'll just take the loan amount or the loan amount, the amount of years, so each category, and then it just does the math based on the interest rate. So you can look, hey, I don't know, maybe I'll get a 6%, but it might go up to 7% by the time I close on it. You can just look, what's the difference? It'll be $130 difference. So you can just do basic math that way without having to run your numbers all the time. And then over here is that debt service cover ratio. And this is the one where I told you that you want it to be a 1.3 or over. And so you can kind of just find 6.75 is the interest rate currently. And we're doing a 25-year loan. And so that's 1.28 for the DSCR. And so that would probably be close enough where the bank wouldn't care a whole lot. But if you had to do a 20-year loan on it, now you're down to 1.15, and that's not ideal. So you can kind of just play with your numbers up top and come back down and see, maybe a seller wants 300 grand for this, but you're like, well, if I can get them down to 250, the numbers work. So you can kind of just input numbers and then come down here and just look at the results and see what's happening that way. And so this would be an ideal property to purchase, I would say. It's a 1.3 debt service coverage ratio, 20% cash on cash, and then I don't remember what the ROI was, 61% ROI. It seems very high. Oh, that's 2 years, so. But yeah, so either way, good property to buy. I would definitely go for it. I was going to show you the difference, so Dan or I can send these to people if they want the calculators. And so mine has the market value price and then all of this stuff at the bottom. And I'll probably just send this to Dan as well, so he has it. And mine also has the cap rate equation. Whereas if you go over to his, he didn't have all that, but I'm sure he'll have no problem adding it. So this is his, has his big old sign there as well. But all the same stuff up top. So you can still get the same answers. You just won't have the debt service coverage ratio, the cap rate, or the market value analyst. But his has these net worth trackers, which are pretty cool. And this is just, he put this stuff in for example. So this isn't my info. But you can type in all your properties. And then the cool thing about this is you can watch, like you can slowly add up your appreciated values, and then you can also input what the bank says that your mortgage is at each month for like a total, and then you can slowly see your net worth increase, which has been really cool for me. It's just a cool thing to watch each month. You know, you put in all this work and you're like, is it paying off yet? And then you see that number growing, which you don't get any of that now, but some delayed gratification there. So that's the net worth tracker, and then he has this contact info and resource page, and then this is just all of their info. It's their mortgage lenders they use, their home inspectors, and then Dan and Catherine, all the other realtors at his office, all really good people. These podcasts here, when I first started in real estate, this is where I spent most of my time, and I still do. They're really good podcasts, some good book suggestions. And then this app is actually one that I showed everyone. Let's see if I get pulled up here. So this is what I use if I'm on the road. Like if you're walking a rental property, I don't have my laptop with ever. Should probably start bringing it with, arguably, but I just pull out my phone, and I can't really see, I don't think, no. But it has all the same information that the calculator that we just went through has, except it's in a phone app format, so it's super easy to use. And then you get the same return numbers at the end, so it'll tell you can't really see, but you get your net operating income, your cash on cash, your cap rate. So you get all the same numbers from it. It's free, super easy to use. It's called the CDS rental calculator. It's just a guy I watch on YouTube. He created this, and super, super slick. So that's all I got for you. If you want the Excel spreadsheet, let me know, and I can see if I can upload it maybe to the description of the video, and then you guys can just click on it and download it from there. And that's all I have for you. And remember, let's get some of that cash flow. Hey guys, realized I forgot property taxes and insurance, and that completely changed the deal. So I figured I'd have to update this and add a second little recap video. So when I was talking about expenses, I forgot about the $3,500 in property taxes, and then the $1,200 in insurance. And that obviously $4,700 completely changed the deal, and that's why we didn't buy it. So I was very confused when I was recording of why it was looking so good, but it didn't when I ran it before. But that's why I looked back at the video and I forgot the $4,700 here. And if you scroll down, the cash on cash for the purchase price one now becomes 1.65%, which is just absolutely terrible. And then a negative ROI the first year. And then if you come down, obviously the cash on cash is the same for the market value. But this return on value is just solely because of the equity in there. And like I said, the 300,000 was just for talking points for this. So the duplex itself currently is just worth 250. So this is all irrelevant for the specific deal I was looking at. But if it was worth 300, you could consider taking a lower cash on cash while rates are higher. Just knowing that you have big equity there. But I wouldn't want to do that this early into it. I want my cash back as quick as possible. So either way, it was 20% on the last one because we forgot 4,700 worth of expenses. But the true cash on cash for this deal is 1.65%, which is terrible. Cap rate is 6%. I believe it was 8 before, but 6% still wouldn't be all that bad. It'd still be doable, but with the higher interest rates and then now including that stuff into expenses, the cash on cash would ruin this deal for me. I would not be interested in it. And then if you go down to the interest rate and you look at the debt service coverage ratio, so we're 25-year, and then we're, let's see here, 6.75, so up here, so we'd be at a 1.02 DSCR, which is not good. So the bank also wouldn't like this deal. So no reason to pursue this one. But yeah, I was very confused because I knew we passed on it, and I just wanted to make sure there was a reason. So we did not hit our numbers. The only thing that would have worked out is the cap rate and the 1% rule. But since the cash on cash, DSCR, and ROI not hitting our numbers, so we're gonna pass on it. All right, thank you. Have a good day.